Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and gives this video a thumbs up. Clayton Echard, the former Bachelor lead, has revealed why he dumped Recchia again. She made it to the final 2 of his season, but he left her in Gabby Windey for Susie Evans. They did eventually reconcile, but it was short-lived. So what was the reason? When the Clayton season of The Bachelor aired, it ended tragically. He had brought Susie Evans, Gabby, and Recchia to the conclusion with him. Susie was sent home, however, since she was uneasy with him having relationships with other women. After spending time with Rachel and Gabby, he concluded he wanted to be with Susie and ended with his final 2. Clayton has long been disliked by fans, and he has just added to their animosity. Both Clayton and Rachel appeared in Season 3 of Netflix's The Perfect Match. They appear to have had no idea the other would show up, so they were completely taken aback. Clayton and Rachel reunited after a chat, but only for 24 hours. He claimed that he just didn't feel right in his stomach, so he had to quit it, but she was devastated. Now he's explaining why he dumped Rachel again, claiming that he paid listen to their chats. Clayton realized they didn't desire the same things, and it was unlikely to succeed in the long run. He admits he made numerous mistakes, but he also blames the editing for how he was depicted. As of now, the Bachelor alum knows why viewers are upset with him. However, that doesn't make the situation any easier. Clayton and Rachel had been apart for some time, so things may have turned out differently. Unfortunately, it was not there, and Clayton Echard would no longer lead Rachel on. At the same time, she felt humiliated and wanted to leave The Perfect Match. After Clayton Echard revealed why he dumped Recchia for the second time, did Bachelor fans understand him, or were they bored with what he had to say? Clayton is often criticized for being self-centered and unconcerned about others' sentiments. He hasn't changed. And he said almost nothing. He didn't need to match Rachel, period. At this point, no one is buying what Clayton is selling, so it will take a lot more to demonstrate that he was correct in this case. Clayton Echard's reputation in Bachelor Nation had never been spotless, but over the years, it had taken on an almost mythic quality. His season of The Bachelor was remembered as one of the most chaotic, divisive, and endlessly debated in franchise history. The finale still lingered in fans' minds like an unresolved TV cliffhanger, an event where the emotional wreckage was never fully cleared. By the time The Perfect Match Season 3 rolled around, most viewers assumed that whatever connection he and Recchia had back in the day was long dead, buried, and perhaps better left untouched. But reality television has a knack for resurrecting ghosts, and this time, the ghost was wearing a smug smile and a well-tailored tropical shirt. Clayton hadn't planned to run into Rachel on The Perfect Match, or so he claimed, but the way he leaned into the moment had people questioning just how surprised he really was. For Rachel, the encounter was like a bad dream she thought she'd already woken up from. Her journey on Clayton's Bachelor season had been an emotional gauntlet. She'd gone from feeling chosen to being blindsided in the same breath. The memory of him standing in front of her and Gabby Windey, confessing that he loved both of them but ultimately wanted neither, was burned into her brain. The finale had been a masterclass in heartbreak television, raw, messy, and unscripted in all the worst ways. She had spent months moving on, throwing herself into her own season of The Bachelorette, navigating love on her terms, and eventually shifting her focus away from the franchise entirely. By the time The Perfect Match invited her on, she wasn't looking for a rerun. She wanted fun, a fresh start, and maybe, just maybe, something that didn't involve public humiliation. The production clearly had other ideas. When Rachel walked onto The Perfect Match villa and saw Clayton sitting there, a drink in hand and that familiar half-smirk playing on his lips, her first instinct was to turn around and walk out. But reality TV thrives on confrontation, and within minutes, the producers had coaxed her into a casual catch-up chat. Casual, of course, was the last thing it was. Cameras hovered, boom mics dangled, and the villa's other cast members watched like spectators at a slow-motion car crash. The conversation started awkwardly, safe topics like "how have you been?" and "what have you been up to?" But soon, the unresolved tension from 2 years ago began to bubble up. Rachel had questions. Not the ones she had rehearsed in her head back then, but the ones that came from fresh wounds that never quite healed. She wanted to know why he had brought her to the final two if he already knew he was hung up on Susie Evans. She wanted to know why he had let her believe they had a shot when, in reality, she was already on borrowed time. She wanted to know why, even after all that, he thought it was okay to match with her on a dating show without a single conversation about their history. Clayton, ever the politician in a polo shirt, offered vague explanations. He talked about following his heart and not wanting to close doors prematurely. He admitted to making mistakes but shifted part of the blame onto the editing, a defense that had become a familiar refrain among reality TV alumni. They didn't show the whole story, he insisted, leaning back in his seat as though that absolved him of responsibility. There were a lot of moments between us that never made it to air, and those moments matter. They changed the way things looked. Rachel wasn't buying it. She'd been in the business long enough to know that yes, editing could be brutal, but it couldn't fabricate emotions out of thin air. The heartbreak she felt back then was real, and the pattern she saw now was just as real. Still, something about the tropical backdrop, the late-night conversations, and the competitive nature of the perfect match had them gravitating toward each other. Whether it was nostalgia, curiosity, or just the magnetic pull of unresolved chemistry, they found themselves coupled up within hours of that first conversation. For the audience, it was a plot twist no one saw coming. Social media exploded with reactions. Some fans rooted for them, hoping that maybe this was their second chance. Others saw it as a disaster in the making, a reboot of the same heartbreak storyline with new island-themed outfits. One particularly viral tweet read, "Rachel, blink twice if you need us to send a rescue boat." The reconnection was fast, but the implosion was faster. Within 24 hours, Clayton was having doubts. He claimed that he woke up the next morning with a pit in his stomach, a gut feeling that something was off. To him, it was the kind of intuitive discomfort that couldn't be ignored. He later explained in an exit interview, "I listened to what we talked about that night, really listened, and I realized we're just not on the same page. She wants things I can't give right now, and I don't want to pretend otherwise." It sounded reasonable enough on paper, but the delivery landed like a slap. Rachel had just let her guard down, on national television, no less, only to have the door slammed shut again before she'd even had time to process being back in his orbit. It wasn't just about losing a match, it was about being made to feel like a backup option for the second time in her reality TV career. Thanks for watching. If you likes this video, do not forget to subscribe to my channel and do not miss any update.